Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. Where today, going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. That is going to be covering Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. And, yeah, definitely a very interesting mixed bag of a couple of shows. But, I'm definitely interested in seeing the direction people are going in, the stories being told. It's all going to be fun time. So we start off the night with Monday Night Raw. We see everyone arrive into the arena. Then we cut to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods coming in. Looks like they're trying to interact with some backstage workers. And they turn from them. Which, oh dang. Walk down the hallway a little bit, run into Alpha Academy and Natalia, and they just roll their eyes at them, and they walk off. So, yeah, New Day story, very effective. So let's get into the show proper. We got a Gunther promo, and he starts off saying, as everyone has seen, Balor has made a grave mistake. Now he has my undivided attention. And this match at Saturday night's main event won't end like it did for Survivor Series for me. And before he can continue, out comes Finn Balor along with the rest of Judgment Day. Besides Liv and Raquel. We'll get to that a little bit later. Balor has a microphone, says, could have just given me the title match, but you wanted to mess with me and give it to Dom. In which camera kind of goes over to Dom. He's looking a little bit down. Balor continues, I'm the only reason you're champion right now. And you're right, Saturday night's main event will be nothing like Survivor Series. Because at Saturday night's main event, you're going to lose the title because of me. And after 8 long years, I'm going to walk out of a show as World Heavyweight Champion. Then, Gunther shoots back, saying, let's set one thing straight. You didn't earn this title match. And I get it. You're frustrated. You were the first Universal Champion. And because of that, I looked up to you. But that faded. You chose to take shortcuts, to hang out with weirdos like the Judgment Day, and play second fiddle to Damian Priest. And here we are, me looking down on you. And 8 years ago, you were best in the world for one night. I'm best tonight and for days to come. You're not on my level, and you never will be. So, Judgment Day then get up on the apron. They're ready to attack Gunther. Out comes Damian Priest, who takes out Judgment Day for a minute. Numbers catch up to him and Gunther. Priest fights back a little bit. All 3 men are in the ring. Gunther with a big old clothesline to Priest. Then Finn with a sling blade, a drop kick. Throws him into the announce table. Hits a coup de grace off the apron. And then numbers catch up to Damian Priest again. Finn with at least 4 coup de grace to both men. He then sees the World Heavyweight title, picks it up, holds that, and the tag team titles over his head. Yeah, they're sucking Gunther into the Judgment Day vortex, and I do not like it. However, the setup for this match is way more interesting than I thought it'd be. So, gonna let it play out. Then see Final Testament and The Miz. They're walking around in the back. Get a nice little Saturday Night's Main Event video package, which nice and hyped. That was really good. Then we see Judgment Day in the back. They're kind of arguing with one another. Adam Pearce walks in. He walks in kind of golf clapping. And he says, I went over, I spoke to Gunther. The World Heavyweight title match has changed. It is now a triple threat, including Damian Priest. So Balor, he gets this pissed off look, turns to Pierce, and says, that's fine with me. It's going to be more satisfying when I beat them both. Then Pierce, who isn't done, says, I'm going to give you another opportunity to defend your tag team titles on next week's Raw against the War Raiders with the rest of Judgment Day banned from ringside. Adam Pearce then walks away. Liv then asks Finn Balor, their glorious leader, for some advice for their match. Then Balor says, I gotta process this, give us a minute. Takes JD McDonough to the side, and that's the last segment of that. So, Saturday Night's Main Event being beefed up a little bit with Damian Priest. Not a bad idea. Although I think we know how this is going to go. We then go to this weird 8-man tag team match playa, as it's the Final Testament. That's Karrion Kross, Akam and Razor of AOP, and The Miz, who honestly fits right in, taking on the Wyatt Six. So that's Uncle Howdy, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Dexter Lumis. And everyone brawls to start. Howdy with a reverse DDT on Kross. Goes for Sister Abigail, but The Miz rolls him out of the ring. Then Gacy and Akam get in. They start the match, and they just start hot-shotting one another. Like, that was they were throwing bombs at one another. Eventually, we get Miz and Eric Rowan in, and Rowan is just wrecking people. Rowan with a very athletic baseball slide, too. That was awesome. Gets him back in. It's a good couple moves on him. Dexter Lumis with a trust fall to take out the rest of the Testament. Tags in Uncle Howdy. Brawls with Miz for a minute, who then tags in Kross. Cheap shots Howdy a little bit, but then as Uncle Howdy is about to do a springboard or whatever off the ropes, Scarlett grabs his leg. Then as Scarlett's celebrating, Nikki Cross comes out from underneath the announce table and takes out Scarlett. Uncle Howdy goes for the Sister Abigail again. Miz saves Kross. Miz eats a mandible claw. Apparently Miz got him over by the ropes. Then Paul Ellering making his big return, throwing some white powder in the face of Uncle Howdy. Kross with the final prayer for the win for Final Testament and The Miz. Now, I've seen a little discourse online. Oh, how could the Wyatts lose this? They're buried. No, they're not. This is their first loss ever as a team. And honestly, I think it was needed. Put a little chink in the armor. And honestly, Kross needed a win like this. He and the Final Testament definitely needed some elevating. Plus, it puts a little credence on a potential rematch down the line. So, no. Wyatts aren't buried. They're going to be back better than ever. Then we go kind of backstage for a CM Punk sit-down interview where he first asked, if you're going to ask about my Blackhawks, we're going to fight. Interviewer asks about the favor that he asked of Paul Heyman. He says, now's not the right time. It's between me and Paul. It's no secret I won't shy away from a fight. But I'm more confused. It's clear Seth hates me, but I don't hate Seth. His entitlement has clearly carried over his entire career. I remember the time Seth was on a list to be fired, which, that's interesting. And if you lived in my shadow, I'd be pissed too. I didn't do things for a thank you. The starter is back in, and the second stringer is going to have to go back to the bench. Yeah, definitely some fighting words for Punk. I'll pretty much give you a couple guesses on what the favor is between Punk and Heyman. Something tells me it's a WrestleMania match against Roman. And wouldn't that be interesting? So we go to our next matchup of the evening, and it's the next first round matchup of the Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament. We got Dakota Kai. Oh, wait, is it? Hold on. No, it isn't. It's actually Dakota Kai who won her qualifying match, taking on Women's Champion Liv Morgan. And I'll admit that early on it was a little bit awkward. They then picked it up. Who comes down to the ring? It's the Pure Fusion Collective, because of course it is. Throughout, they're distracting Dakota Kai, but she fights out of it. Dakota Kai goes for a big corner kick, whiffs on it. Liv hits the Oblivion for the win. Post-match, Pure Fusion Collective attack Dakota Kai. This brings out Io Sky and Kairi Sane to make the save. Then Liv with a Oblivion to Io during this time. So, definitely building up to the Io Liv match at Saturday night's main event. We'll see what happens from there. Next up, we got a kind of Drew McIntyre vignette promo thing, where he says, at Hell in a Cell, it was the most violent match of my career. I've proved that the nickname Scottish Warrior isn't just a nickname. 2024 has been a banner year for me, but what if I was wrong? I saw Survivor Series, I saw Punk standing with Roman, and after everything, they ran back to Roman. I knew I had to come back, take out of, and take out Punk. I cannot change the past, but I can change the present and the future. So, nice little promo from Drew McIntyre. We then get an injury update on Jey Uso, who is not cleared to compete for tonight after the attack last week from Drew. We then get a recap video of the New Day 10th anniversary celebration, which broke absolutely everyone's heart, including this interesting bit where we see just outside of Adam Pearce's office, out walks WWE Champion Cody Rhodes. They shake hands, turns right into the New Day, and he says to them, I've loved you guys since I was a kid, but you should be ashamed of yourselves. And walks off. Oh my goodness. And just wait, the New Day stuff ain't done. I will get into that one a little bit. But next, we got a promo from Seth Rollins, who says, I got a lot to talk about. Let's give it up for Punk. And when you're done in the ring, you got your career in politician. You have a master class on how to spin the truth. And Punk has been doing this his entire career. You want the truth? Punk was right. I went to him to get trained. I idolized Punk. He helped me get into the WWE. We were friends. But when Punk left, when he walked out of the company, I reached out to him and got nothing in return. I got ghosted by Punk. And if you quit your dream job and didn't align with Punk, you were evil. Jesus. Hang on just a second. And for years after that, he tried to tear down WWE, and he failed at everything else. And because the money was right, he came back. Once upon a time, I chanted his name too, but then I realized all along the way I wanted to be better than Punk. I did what he never could, and that's main event WrestleMania. Seth spitting some facts. Like, honestly, that was the part of the reason Punk left. Was because he didn't get the main event of WrestleMania he thought he deserved. Instead, being taken off by Rock and Cena. Which, honestly, tells you all you need to know about that era of WWE. Anyway, this brings out Sami Zayn, who has a match with Drew McIntyre coming up. And he says, if you're Seth, then says to Sami, if you're out here to defend Punk again, we're fighting again. Which, dang. Sami then replies, we were angry last week and we fought. It happens. It was wrong of me to assume you attacked Jey Uso. I'm sorry. Seth then replies, I'm glad you brought that up. We've been friends for years. When Jay went down, I was the first person on your mind? Sami then says, the way you were talking, you were talking crazy. You were sounding less like Seth Rollins and more like Drew McIntyre. Which you could see kind of struck a nerve with Seth. Seth then kind of yells, I'm not Drew McIntyre. Sami then replies, this thing with Punk and you, it brings out the worst in you. Clearly worse than I imagined, but that is your business, so I'm going to let you go handle it. How about us? Are we good? Seth replies, yeah, we're good. Sami then says, you clearly got business to handle. That's some pretty good advice. I'm going to handle this thing with Drew and not sit in the back and end this. And I've already talked to Adam Pearce, and at Saturday night's main event, it's going to be me versus Drew. So Drew, going to see you Saturday. So Sami drops the microphone, walks up the ramp, then he kind of looks camera side, and he's like, oh, someone he didn't expect. It's Drew McIntyre. He attacks Sami Zayn on the ramp and just starts brutalizing the guy, and with officials coming out to break it up. Definitely an interesting angle. definitely some fire being spit by Seth Rollins. So, yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting. Now we move on to the next first round matchup of the Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament. We got Zelina Vega taking on Ivy Nile, taking on Lyra Valkyria. And honestly, this was a nice little matchup. Nile with a lot of ground and pound stuff. Vega with some high flying, but not enough to overshadow Lyra, who honestly kind of does well at both. One point we see Vega hit Ivy Nile with the code red, only to get it 2. Lyra then pull Zelina Vega in for a Nightwing to pick up the win. Lyra is pretty much the perfect person to hold this title. She has deserved it ever since she got the call-up. Anyway, so we see Rhea Ripley. She's kind of warming up for her main event in the back. Damian Priest walks in, and he just says, eradicate, and walks off. So, nice, short but sweet interaction between these two. We then see backstage who I'm going to call from now on the Dark Day interview. That's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. With Kofi being mad the interviewer isn't such a neutral party. So we're going to go out there to the people and explain ourselves. So then Woods then grabs the camera out of the cameraman's hand, follows Kofi Kingston to the ring, which that's quite a visual. They make it out to the arena. Woods puts the camera down on the steel steps. They then say, no. You mean to tell me after 10 years of positivity, you're mad after one day? We come out here. We didn't do anything to Big E. Through this all, the crowd is booing the heck out of them. Like, this isn't just heel heat. This is almost hate. Like, this is heat people could only dream of that. Throughout this time, Woods and Kofi are trying to get a word out. They cannot do it. With Kofi finally saying, you know what? We came out here, and before they can say anything else, they just drop their microphones and leave. And good Lord, that segment last week was so effective. Oh, I love this shit. Am I a little annoyed that they turned Kofi heel? Absolutely. I'm a big Kofi Kingston fan. But seeing this level of Dominic Mysterio heat is something I don't think I've ever seen. This is nuts. And I can't wait to see how WWE plays with this. And then we go to our main event for Monday Night Raw. And it's an anything goes match between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. And as Raquel is making her entrance, Rhea Ripley pretty much jumps out of the ring and brawls on the ramp, tosses her into a barricade, throws her over the barricade into the crowd, then along the way hits her with a trash can, and not like a gimmicked trash can, like one of those silver ones, like a real one from the arena, and then it explodes, trash coming out of it. They get in the ring, bell rings, Raquel fights back a little bit, but then Rhea takes over with a Van Daminator, which she has a chair, tosses it to her, and then boots it right into her face, which that's always impressive. Rhea tries for a Razor's Edge, but that gets blocked into a side slam and a couple of chair shots for a 2 count. Rhea then starts setting up the chairs in the middle of the ring. Goes for a riptide, but out comes Liv Morgan, who distracts Rhea for a little bit. But Rhea then dumps her over into the ring. Hits a big boot on Raquel. Then a big old power slam into the steel chairs. Only gets a 2 count. Then Rhea kind of sets up the chair in the corner, but legs out, like legs up, which is a little weird. Raquel goes for a Tejana bomb, but that gets blocked. Rhea goes for a riptide. Liv comes in and saves Raquel. Hits a super kick. And an Oblivion. Out comes Io Sky, who hits a drop kick. Takes out Liv Morgan. Then Rhea goes out, sets up a table. Raquel goes for a Tejana bomb through the table. That gets blocked. Rhea throws Raquel into the chair in the corner, which I honestly didn't see get set up. And then hits a riptide through the table to pick up the win. This was definitely a much needed win for Rhea. And Raquel is pretty much just muscle at this point. But what happens next is very, very interesting. Both Io and Rhea see the women's world title in the middle of the ring. They both pick it up at the exact same time. I know the plan is Rhea versus Liv, with Rhea getting her revenge for the title she never lost. But good lord, let's get Io and Rhea in a ring together as soon as possible. Although I would love to see it just be a WrestleMania match. Like, I'd be totally cool with that. So, definitely a bit more of a mixed bag for WWE this week. Not a ton of wrestling either, which, don't get me wrong, I don't mind a little less wrestling, but, this was definitely I think the highlights of the show was obviously the Dog Day reaction, and plenty of setup for the next show. Saturday night's main event should be pretty darn cool. So, that was Monday Night Raw. Again, mixed bag of a show, but I did enjoy watching it. Next up, we got NWA Power, which is the continuation of the Samhain event. And we start off with a Max the Impaler versus Carson Drake hype video, which is, very well produced, very good looking. We then go into our first matchup, which is Lev taking on Alex Misery. And apparently Lev was in a tag team earlier called The Kids. Okay. And apparently now he's like a Lord of Darkness, which is weird. They trade blows for a little bit. They also bite each other, which is very, very interesting. Alex Misery with a cannonball in the corner. Couple elbows. Big old drop kick. Both guys go down. Then out comes Gags the Gimp, who gets right in Lev's face. Then out comes, I guess, his muscle now. Casio, who I haven't seen in a while, with some kendo stick shots to Alex Misery. Bell rings, so the match is thrown out. So it looks like Gags and this guy are going to be teammates. Nope, psych. Kendo stick shots all around. So it looks like these four are going to be in a feud going forward, which don't mind at all. Wondering about the Miserably Faithful, though. I'm kind of going to miss those guys. Officials come out to break it up and end that segment. Then we get a Magic Jake Dumas kind of video promo where he says, "I got your number twice, Jack Stain. And you're here to make demands? I'm familiar with that trick. I'm going to meet you for this submission match, but I'm going to add a stipulation. The Iron Claw is banned." So, looks like we're going to get a tag team submission match, which is very, very weird. Then we get an Austin Idol interview. With him saying, "Oh, you clearly missed on everything. Austin Idol is pro wrestling. I'm the man. I'm Mr. Sellout. And one thing you gotta remember, this mastermind got the Claw banned." So it looks like Magic Jake is in with Austin Idol, which, very interesting. We then go to this next tag team match playa. So we get the Southern Six. So that's Thrillbilly Silas Mason and Kerry Morton taking on Kobe Carino and Brian Idol. So, this match was really, really good. Liked all the stuff with both Kobe and Idol trying to chop the big redwood and Silas Mason. Kerry Morton and Kobe Carino have some great chemistry as well. Go back and forth for a little bit. One point, Kobe Carino was looking for a tag, but Kerry Morton knocks him off the apron. Kerry Morton then with a big old leg sweep from the middle rope. Then Kerry Morton tags in the big guy, and he goes on a bit of a rampage. Both guys down after a big rana from Kobe. Then Idol and Morton get in. They trade blows. Kobe with a big spear through the ropes. Gets him back in. Goes for a superplex. That gets blocked. Morton with a big senton. That misses. Idol into a sling blade. Tags in Kobe. Hits a swanton. Dueling super kicks. Only for a 2 count. Thrillbilly tries for a thrill ride. That gets blocked into a couple of super kicks. Kobe with a couple knees into an L driver, which is a very cool name for a finish, for the win for Kobe Carino and Brian Idol. We then get this weird, confusing interview from Ella Envy and Miss Star, with Ella saying, "I have everything right now." And Caribbean Flow, "We're not worried about you. We hear you talking smack in the locker room. And we got one word for you. Shit, girls." Which, that was a little awkward, but I know what they were going for. So, it's setting up some interesting matches for next week. But now we go to our main event, which is a no disqualification match for the television title, as Carson Drake challenges Max the Impaler. And Max just immediately starts destroying Carson Drake, including getting some weapons, some chairs, some belts. Carson Drake picks up like a styrofoam tombstone, hits Max with that completely no-sells it. Then Max goes over to the setup on the stage, grabs a Christmas present, grabs one of the fake trees, hits Carson Drake with it like a bat. That was awesome. Carson Drake then gets a staple gun. I don't know how he got that. tries stapling Max the Impaler's gut, which, of course, that didn't work. Max with a headbutt. Then Max gets like a dollar bill, sticks it into Carson Drake's mouth and staples it, which to his tongue, which, stuff like that skeeves me out. Carson Drake then fights back a little. Actually, Max continues to dominate, hits Drake with a lunchbox, and then puts a pumpkin on his head, throws him into the steps. Max then gets a table, sets it up in the corner, tries for a suplex, that gets blocked. Carson Drake fights back after a little. Then a spear right through into the table. The table doesn't break. So then Max then picks up Carson Drake's and just tosses him through the table to get it to break. Max then gets up, goes to the stage, picks up a gift from under one of their trees, hits Carson Drake with it while it's still wrapped. They unwrap it. Of course, it's a steel chair. A couple of chair shots later, Max then sets it in the corner, tosses him into the leg of it. Then Carson Drake then goes to take off his boot, with James Mitchell coming out on the apron. Max the Impaler tries to go for a big splash. That misses. Carson Drake with a roll-up for the surprise win. So we got a new NWA television champion. So Carson Drake gets out of there as fast as he could with the title. Then you have Max. They are clearly distraught. They're looking for some revenge. Then James Mitchell touches them right on the shoulder. Max takes a look right at James Mitchell, grabs him by the scruff of the neck. It's a big old clothesline to him. So it looks like Max is freeing themselves from James Mitchell's influence. Kind of like what Abyss did back in the day. Which, totally fine with that. Definitely didn't see Carson Drake winning the title here, but I am definitely okay with it. So, again, another kind of mixed bag of a show. Promos were a little odd, but they were effective in what they needed to do. And fine, Alamo, we got AEW Dynamite, but it's not any regular Dynamite. It's the Winter is Coming special. I missed when AEW used to do these. These, like, themed shows that they treated as big as their pay-per-views. We start off with a little tag team match playa, as representing the Death Riders, it's Pac and Jon Moxley taking on Orange Cassidy and Jay White. And before the match starts, Cassidy and Jay White defend an attack from the Death Riders. Eventually, they do get them in the ring. Bell rings. We have Pac and Jay White starting it off. And it's awesome the chemistry these two guys got. Eventually, Pac does tag out to Jon Moxley, who just starts ransacking Jay White, who tries for a surprise Blade Runner early on, but that gets blocked. Tags in Cassidy, runs house on Moxley for a little bit, who tags in Pac. Cassidy goes for an orange punch, that misses. Pac with a big old suplex onto the announce table. They get back in. Then we see in one of the box seats, it's the Patriarchy. So that's Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, Kip Sabian, and Mama Wayne. They're sitting there, they're watching the show. Moxley gets in, gets Cassidy with the wrist hook, which that looks like it hurts every single time. Cassidy fights out, hits a couple of super kicks. Jay White and Pac then tag back in. They trade blows after a while, including some magnificent DDTs from Jay White. Pac goes back to the fishhook on Jay White. Pac with a crossface. As that's going on, we cut back to the Patriarchy box seats. We see Christian Cage kind of flick his wrist. We see Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian leave the box. So that's interesting. Go back to the action. We get Jay White getting Moxley in an ankle lock for a little bit. But Moxley ends up fighting out, tagging into Pac, who hits a big old leg sweep to his opponent. Tagging in Mox and Cassidy again. They trade blows. Cassidy attempts a beach break. That gets blocked by Moxley. Cassidy with a penalty kick into a DDT. A bite, and then a diving DDT, which is awesome. Mox then locks in the Coquina clutch, but Cassidy counters it into a roll-up, only for 2. Cassidy hits one DDT, goes for another diving one, but that gets blocked by Moxley, right into a stunner, and then a suplex. Cassidy fights back with a big boot, hits the beach break, only for a 2 count, as Wheeler Yuta is now distracting the ref. Orange Cassidy dealing out orange punches to absolutely everyone. And then Hangman Adam Page comes out. And he starts just beating on Jon Moxley. So the match technically thrown out. Cassidy tries to break it up, but he and Hangman brawl it out for a little. Cassidy hits an orange punch on Hangman, goes for another one. Hangman ducks it, hits Jay White. Jay White then sells for a minute, gets back up, hits a Blade Runner on Orange Cassidy. Then we see the Death Riders, who are on the outside of the ring, come to an agreement and attack Team AEW. So it's kind of a can they coexist storyline mixed with a, Death Rider. It kind of feels like the Main Event Mafia storyline in TNA from back in the day. With the Motor City Machine Guns, being the outliers. Like Hangman Pages. Then we get probably the best vignette of the week. We see the continuation of the Bandito return. You see him, he's riding into town on horseback. We see some of the extras like, hey, you're not allowed in this town. You're most wanted. Bandito gets off his horse, takes off his hat, takes off his cloak. Come on. And he's just beating up everybody. And as soon as everyone else is down, he just magically gets his entrance gear back on, gets back on his horse, and rides out of town. I'm going to say this. Whoever's coming up with these vignettes for Bandito, and like Julia Hart's one as well, they deserve a big raise. Like, these have been so good. Even if you're not the biggest fan of AEW right now, you need to see these. We then see the Death Riders in the back. You see Jon Moxley kind of holding his head for a minute. Then he says, I'm a marked man with a crown. And the only way to live, this is the only way to live. I wouldn't have it any other way. Everyone's asking for the next shot. Egos run AEW. We do not fight for flesh and blood. At World's End, in the AEW title match, it's going to be a fatal 4-way. So, interesting little announcement for that match. Then we cut to back in the arena. It's Christian Cage. He's still up in the box, and he has a microphone somehow. So he says, fatal 4-way at World's End. I've got a problem with everybody in that match. But my biggest problem is with Mox. You have what I want, and I'm waiting on the other side. And this is sending you guys into a tailspin as I'm forced to rehab the title. He's kind of walking back into the box, kind of near the door. Then we see pop up Hook. He's right outside the door. He's mean mugging Christian Cage. Cage is continuing, turns around, finally sees Hook, who punches the window out of the door. He gets in and he just beats up Cage. And he has like there's this little table in there, slides him across it into the wall a couple of times, locks in the Red Room. Then in come Nick Wayne and Chris Sabian, who finally make their return from whatever the heck they were doing to save Cage. Hook lets go of the Red Room, runs out of the room with Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian in tow. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Maybe it's just me being a sicko for AEW. Yeah, I said it. But stuff like this is interesting. There's a lot of storytelling that AEW can do outside the ring. And yeah, right now, stuff like that is interesting. It's awesome. And I kind of want more. Not to say I want to see less wrestling. I love the wrestling. But maybe some more of this stuff would be nice. Anyway, back to our next match. And oh boy, is it a barn burner, as it's for the Gold League of the Continental Classic. We got Claudio Castagnoli taking on Will Ospreay for the first time. And honestly, it lived up to the hype. Claudio almost right away going for an attack on Will Ospreay, who counters immediately with a standing Spanish fly, only for a 2 count. Ospreay attempts an Oscutter that gets blocked into an uppercut. Roll up only for a 2. Claudio almost immediately going for a neutralizer that gets blocked into a couple of super kicks. The entire match, Claudio working on Ospreay's arm, weakening him, including tossing him elbow first into the barricade, gets him back in the ring, chucks him off the steps for a little bit. Ospreay tries for a crossbody off the barricade, off the apron, that gets caught, slammed right into the barricade, uppercut, and then Claudio grabs Ospreay, does his giant swing head first into the steel steps. Then Claudio kind of forces Ospreay's arm in between where the steps are and the ring post. Hits a stomp on it, which that looked absolutely brutal. Brings Ospreay right in. Another counter into an uppercut. But then Ospreay got his stuff back, hits a big old Rana, big boot, attempts a suplex that gets blocked, hits a suplex of his own into a moonsault for a 2, attempts the hidden blade, but that gets countered by a big old boot. Claudio attempts a Ricola bomb that gets blocked into a standing octopus hold, which is really impressive. Claudio makes it to the ropes. Trade shots, including a massive suplex. Ospreay goes for a superplex, but that gets blocked. Ospreay tries for a Sky Twister. That misses, which is a great name for a finisher. Claudio into some uppercuts. A couple more arm ringers. Ospreay finally nails the Os Cutter, but Claudio rolls to the outside. Ospreay rolls him back in, hits the hit, goes for the hidden blade. That gets blocked again into the pop-up uppercut, only for a 2. Claudio with his new finisher, the big old lariat, for 2. Attempts the neutralizer. That gets blocked into a roll-up for the win for Will Ospreay. And I'm going to say this right now. If there's one match you're going to watch this week, recommended. Absolutely. Post-match, Claudio Castagnoli attacks Will Ospreay. Finally hits the Ricola Bomb. Claudio goes for a chair, but out comes Darby Allin to make the save, as they're going to face off in the Continental Classic sooner rather than later. So that's going to be a fun one. Next up, we go backstage for a Ricochet interview. He's saying, "This is why I came to AEW for the competition. I'm facing Brody King for the first time," which, that's going to be awesome. But it's clear he's not me, and tonight, it's me who holds all the cards, as he's holding the card from the Hurt Syndicate. Ooh. I would not mind Ricochet turning heel. Then we see in the parking lot, big old SUV arriving. We see the door open. We see the Dynamite Diamond ring. But we never see his face. MJF gets out of the car, puts on his Burberry scarf, heads for the arena. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a fun one. MJF actually in the building. I'm here for it. We then get a little recap of the Chris Jericho Matt Cardona face-off from Rampage. Then we go to an interview for Matt Cardona for the first time in a long time. Cardona in AEW. He says, "It's great to be back. I belong here. I'm always ready, like the shirt says. And at Final Battle, it's my biggest opportunity ever of my career. I know what I'm in store for. But Brian Keith, it's going to be you versus me on Rampage. I hope you're ready." So, Matt Cardona back on it. Dynamite. I can't remember the last time Cardona was on Dynamite. I think it was before the match with Cody, Colt Cabana, and a few other guys against the Dark Order at whatever pay-per-view that was. I want to say that was either All Out or something else. Anyway, then we see a Kyle O'Reilly interview. But before he can say anything, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett come in saying, "Kyle, you really don't have to do this. You've got to remember, we're still family." Kyle O'Reilly turns to them, says, "Remember this when one of our brothers got hurt." Talking about Roddy. So, this leads into our next match of the evening, as we got Adam Cole baby taking on Kyle O'Reilly, with the winner facing MJF for the Dynamite Diamond ring at World's End. And this was a pretty interesting little matchup. They matched up pretty darn well. Kyle O'Reilly breaking out the Juji Katami, but Adam Cole gets out of it. Kyle catching a big old super kick, blocking a Panama Sunrise. Kyle hitting a big old brainbuster, only for a 2. Adam Cole going for Death Valley Driver, that getting blocked. Kyle missing a big knee drop. As Adam Cole goes for the boom, he whiffs. After a nice little kick elbow exchange, he hits the boom, but doesn't go for the pinfall. Instead goes for a super kick. And then hits like a suplex arm breaker combo thing. Kyle O'Reilly then with an ankle lock. Adam Cole makes it into the ropes. Kyle tries for a superplex. That gets blocked. Adam Cole with a Panama Sunrise. Goes for the boom. That gets blocked into a super kick. The ref is then checking on Kyle O'Reilly. This brings out MJF, who has the Dynamite Diamond ring on. Goes for a shot on Adam Cole. Misses. Adam Cole super kicks MJF. Kyle O'Reilly gets up, hits a sneaky roll up for a 2 count. Kyle goes for a super kick. Cole goes for a super kick. That gets caught into an ankle lock, but Adam Cole almost immediately gets out of it. Hits a roll up for the win. AEW loving its surprise roll ups, which is kind of surprising. They don't usually do it that much. But this is 2 in 1 show. Then we see post-match Adam Cole extending his hand for a handshake. Then Kyle O'Reilly's like, yeah, whatever. And walks out. Yeah, something tells me we're about to see Kyle O'Reilly interfere in that match against MJF. Should be interesting. We then get a rundown of the card so far for World's End. Should be a little bit more filled out as time goes along. We then have an FTR promo continuing their announcement that they're going to be, hosting Fight for the Fallen, which is the simulcast with Max, which that's the first time. Then they say they're going to put their names in a hat for a match with this show. Then they turn to the Death Riders, saying, we don't have a problem with you, but on Collision this week, we're going to be in the ring, and we're going to have some words for you guys. So, Collision kind of turning out to be a little bit much to watch again. We then get a card rundown for Holiday Bash, which is going on next week. We then go to a Chris Jericho promo in the style of a news anchor, which honestly I've been enjoying. He then says, I've heard Cardona's challenge to Brian Keith. You think you're sending a message to me by taking a bite out of the bad apple? At Final Battle, you and me, on ROH TV this week, we're going to have a contract signing. We're going to get, and you're going to get everything you wanted. But you're not ready for me. You made a mistake, Cardona. I'm here so you can pay the price. So, definitely some interesting things going on for Ring of Honor. I'm glad they're hyping this up as much as they are on AEW TV. Maybe you'll get more eyes on. We then get a video recap of the Continental Classic so far. And I've been liking these too. These who's won so far? Who's been participating? It's been good. It's really been really good. We then see a JR sit-down interview with Darby Allin, which I do like. With Darby Allin saying, the question, it's never over with the Death Riders. They're slowly chipping away at what makes AEW AEW. Bryan was the backbone of this place. And with the young guys not stepping up, they're making their first living with wrestling. I've been called a little reckless and impulsive, but violence doesn't concern me. Every who does he say this about? I envision everything right in AEW. I need to win this tournament. And damage. There's going to be collateral damage along the way. But it needs to. I need to save this company. Mox, this is the company that gave you a second chance. And nothing fails you more than the lies you tell yourself. Ooh. Those are some interesting words from Darby Allin. I love them. And I love the slow build Darby Allin is getting to the world title. Because I think that's who's going to be beating Mox. And next up, we got the Blue League action of the Continental Classic. So we got Ricochet taking on Brody King. And oh my gosh, the chemistry here. And it's not just the big guy, the giant versus the little guy thing. I mean, yeah, we do get Brody King overpowering Ricochet. But Ricochet staying in it is very, very interesting. One point we see Ricochet going for a cutter that gets blocked right into a suplex. Brody tries for the Gonzo bomb. That gets blocked into a roll-up, only for a 2 count. Ricochet tries to get Brody up for a Death Valley driver, but he fails it. He drops him, eats a splash, eats a cannonball, only for a 2. Brody goes for a superplex that gets blocked into a sunset flip powerbomb by Ricochet, which that was impressive. Ricochet with a standing shooting star press. Brody then catches it, goozling Ricochet. But Ricochet fights out of it, gets on Brody's back, locks in a sleeper. But he doesn't get it all. Brody overpowers him, hits a big old DDT into the exposed turnbuckle. But Ricochet fights back, hits a kick. Guns up, hits the spirit guns. Hits a couple of spirit guns for the win for Ricochet. Yeah, that was definitely interesting. Entire time, Ricochet getting booed out of the building. Another very interesting little heel turn. Anyway, we cut it to the back to Private Party. They got their tag team titles out in front of them, saying, "Welcome to the party. We're getting ready to..." And before they can say anything else, in comes Rush and Lio Rush and Action Andretti, saying, "We obviously got a gift from Santa. We want your tag team titles." Before Private Party can really say anything, in comes Top Flight with Darius saying, "Remember how many matches you guys won?" 0. Lio Rush retorts, "You remember who eliminated you two from the Battle Royal?" "Oh, it's us." They start arguing a little bit. Then Layla Gray interrupts, saying, "Look, enough. We're obviously not going to handle things like this. So how about this? The 2 of you versus the 2 of you. Winners get a title shot." Then Dante extends his hand, saying, "No hard feelings, right?" And they kind of shake hands, but then they pull him in face to face. This breakup has been maybe not the biggest thing in the world, but it is interesting. I am finally glad Top Flight is getting some storyline. Then we see, I don't even think it's in the arena, an interview with Anna Jay and Mercedes Moné. It's on some pink carpet somewhere. And it's right in front of some setup where you see celebrities passing by. Monet does her usual stuff. She says, "It doesn't matter. You've been so good to me. And Anna Jay, I'm proud of you. I love your drive. And only at 26, you're just getting your start. At 26, I was already a 15-time world champion. And I'm the greatest TBS champion of all time. And that's the price you pay when you mess with Monet." And as she's going to leave, Anna Jay says, "Oh, no, I'm not done with you. Come back here." Monet comes back. Anna says, "I admire what you've done your entire career. But my entire career, I've been underestimated. And I only need 1, 2, 3 seconds to shock the world and win the title." So, interesting little setup to this match. And I'm glad they're kind of mixing up the interview venues. Like whether it's the sit-down one with Mina Shirakawa, or the one that just happened with Darby Allin, or this. Mixing it up a little makes it feel a little fresher, I guess. And then we go to our main event of the evening, and it's for the AEW Women's title as Mariah May takes on Mina Shirakawa. And honestly, this match was pretty darn good. Early on, Mina Shirakawa locks Mariah May into the figure 4. Instead of breaking it, they roll all the way to the outside, to the floor. Mina goes for a suplex that gets blocked. May throws her right into the ring steps and into the barricade, where we see Thunder Rosa in the crowd, and she's holding up like signs and stuff. It's funny. Then we see Mina lock May into a figure 4 around the ring post and start smashing her knee into it. They get back in the ring. They exchange strikes. Big old enziguri from Mina Shirakawa. Big old headbutt from May. Spinning back fist from Mina. Mina goes for the figure 4 again. That gets blocked into a suplex. Only for 2. Then they make it up the top rope. Mina with a big old hurricane run off the top. Goes for a knee. Misses. Instead hits another back fist. Mina going for a big clothesline. That gets caught into a reverse DDT. Only for 2. Mina then gets up, hits a DDT of her own. Getting 2. Mariah May with double knees into the corner. Into the Mayday. Only for a 2 count. Mariah May goes for Mayday number 2. That gets blocked into a roll-up. Only for a 2 count. Mina with a sling blade off the middle rope. Glamis driver only gets a 2 count. Big headbutt from Mariah May into a Storm Zero to pick up the win and retain her title. Now, I'm going to say this. This might piss a couple people off. While I did enjoy this match, and it did get extended time from TBS, I feel like they kind of rushed this match a little. Like, match itself was fine, but I feel like they were kind of going fast forward. Anyway, as Mariah May is celebrating, who makes a return? It's Toni Storm. Except it's not timeless Toni Storm. It's classic punk rock Toni Storm. Although you can also see she still kind of has that timeless Toni Storm mannerisms. Which, for me personally, I think that means timeless Toni Storm isn't dead. And we're going to see like a situation in like 2014 TNA where you got Abyss, but then you also got Joseph Park as like a separate character. So I think we're going to see something like that, which honestly I could think would be really good. So, overall, Dynamite was a bit of a mixed bag. A lot of really good stuff, but a lot of kind of pointless stuff as well. Also, I kind of felt like the wrestling wasn't all there. Like, it was good. Wrestling itself was good, but it wasn't as good as it usually is. At least to me. So, yeah, that'll do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Coming along on Monday, I will, of course, cover SmackDown and Rampage. No Collision, because I am actually going to be going out on Saturday. So, again, no Saturday night's main event. Probably going to watch that on Sunday instead of watching my Jets, which they stink. Probably cover that on Tuesday. Then either on Wednesday or Thursday. It depends on, how I'm feeling, etc. Maybe I'll cover, I will be coming up with my end of year awards just in time for the holidays. Then that Friday is going to be covering Raw, Power, and Dynamite for next week. And then that following Monday will be Collision, Rampage, and SmackDown. So hopefully you guys can tune in for that. And then starting after that, during that week, during the holidays, going to take some time off from the wrestling. Then I'll probably be back at some point after the new year with a video on what I'd like to see in 2025. So hopefully you all stay tuned for that. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.